Do I want to take this one? Yes. Beth Larson asked a question, and I'm going to paraphrase it here. It's quite a long question. She's basically saying how she's a student, and she had a professor, and they were talking about Benghazi, and the professor didn't want to talk about it and just said it's a non-story, basically, and just, basically said it's not an issue. It's like they keep bringing up the same thing, and it's completely pointless, and why do the Republicans do this, and so on. And she finally just said, people after class said, I don't even know who Benghazi is. So ultimately, the question, I think, is what's wrong with people, and how do you get around this, and how do you argue? And I'll give you a simple explanation here, Beth. When you're dealing with liberals, I learned this from Andrew Breitbart, every single time you deal with liberals, they will create a trap for you. The trap will be built into the question. The trap will be built into a response to your answer, but there will be an ongoing trap for every question that's ever asked a conservative by every liberal professor, by every liberal, newspaper reporter for the unbiased news. And Breitbart saw this very clearly, and once Andrew showed me how to do it, it's second nature for me now. Anytime you're arguing with a liberal, anytime you're arguing with especially somebody in authority like a professor or somebody who's a student trying to make a case, mark my words, because I've never seen the exception to this. There will be buried in the question, in the assumption, in the response, somewhere in there will be buried unearned moral superiority on their part. Unearned moral superiority. They'll also try for intellectual superiority, but there will always be something about how the question is phrased or how their response to a question is phrased that positions them as one of the good, caring, loving, decent people, and either overtly or covertly, you will be one of the evil, mean-spirited, rotten, no-good-for-nothing, people-hating, baby-killer people. It will be in everything that you deal with. It'll be in global warming. It'll be in Benghazi. It'll be in everything. And so what you have to learn how to do, no matter what the question is you have to learn how to spot where their moral superiority, I keep saying it's not moral superiority, it's unearned moral superiority. Find out where their unearned moral superiority is and attack them there directly. Attack them there directly. So if the guy says Benghazi's not a story, you say, well, sir, with all due respect, I'm sure it's a story to Ambassador Stevens' family because he's the first sitting ambassador to be murdered in the line of duty in 35 years. So I'm sure it's a story to him. I'm sure it's a story to the two men that risked their lives to go back to the embassy and try to get that man and the other men out of there. And they did get some people out of there, and they fought for 6 hours against overwhelming odds with incoming RPGs waiting for help that didn't come. Now, if you think that the Democratic Party and Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are doing a terrific job, what would you say to those two men? Because it sounds to me like you're a callous, heartless, soulless individual whose smug sense of moral superiority is simply overlooking genuine tragedy on the part of other people, and you don't seem to care about anything. What kind of a person are you? Are you really that much of a heartless? Are you really that much of a heartless, soulless individual that the death of a sitting ambassador means nothing to you? His murder and alleged sodomy in the streets means nothing to you? The death of people who could have escaped and ran away from the danger but instead ran to the sound of gunfire, that means nothing to you? These people called for help for 6 hours from the most powerful government in the world headed by your guy, and that means nothing to you? Go right straight at their moral superiority and knock it out from underneath them, and then they don't know what to do anymore. I'll give you two more quick examples to make the case. I've told this story before too. I was at my old job. I was the only conservative in a floor of liberal TV producers, or 40 of them. And this new woman got a job, and she came in. I'd never seen her before in my life. Just walked up to me basically and said, "So you must be that conservative I heard about." And I said, "Yes. Hi, I'm Bill. How are you? Nice to meet you." She says, "So I guess you're against protecting the environment, huh?" In other words, you're a mean-spirited, low-life capitalist dirtbag who wants the planet to burn, but I'm a loving, caring, Gaia-loving, sustainable, moral, decent, loving person who drives a Prius, so therefore you're rotten and I'm great. And when she said, "I guess you don't want to protect the environment," I said, "Well, What environment do you want to protect? What do you mean? I said, do you want to protect the 1975 environment? Do you want to protect the 1812 environment? Do you want to protect the environment of 600 BC? Do you want to protect the environment of 200 million BC? The Earth's been much hotter than it is now. It's been much colder than it is now. There's been 8 times more carbon dioxide in the air than there is today. There's been less carbon dioxide, but not a lot less, because we're darn near the lower level of carbon dioxide. If we have a whole lot less carbon dioxide than we have now, plants will die and they won't come back. So what environment do you want to protect? The center of the country was once under 200 feet of a shallow inland sea. Kansas used to be teeming with palm trees and hundreds of thousands of species of dinosaurs and pterodactyls, and now it's a wasteland. It's a frozen, low CO2 wasteland. So which climate do you want to protect? And that was the end of that. She literally just stormed out of the room. Couldn't answer that question because I took away her moral high ground. She wanted me to go to hell with you. It's my problem if I want to watch the earth burn. And she was expecting the, you don't give a damn about anything, or the baby killers, or the, you like watching children burn, as we all do, certainly. And so you take away their moral high ground. And the final example I'll give you, just to show you how it works, because 3 examples make a line, or 3 points make a line, I should say, is I was at Oberlin College, and I was talking to the most liberal college in the country, and I said I was against affirmative action, and in the speech and during the Q&A, this young white kid was, of course, standing up for Black America, because he apparently feels that Black America can't stand up for themselves, and you need young white college students from Colorado to stand up for Black people. And he basically said, so you're against affirmative action, huh? I said, I certainly am. And he said, how come? I said, because I'm not a racist, that's why. He says, what do you mean? I said, I'm not a racist, you're the racist. You're the one who's in favor of affirmative action. You're the one who believes that Black people should be able to get into college with a 650 while white kids need an 800. I'm not like you. I'm not built the same way you are. I don't think Black people are inferior. I think Black people can get as much of a score on a college exam as a white person can if they study as hard. I think it's a disgusting and a reprehensible philosophy that you hold, this idea that Black people are so inferior to white people that they have to have special lower standards set for them. I think it's a disgraceful and appalling thing to believe. And that was the end of that. So that's how you do it, Beth. Listen to what they're saying, look for the unearned moral superiority, attack this directly, and go at it. Yeah, I feel like I've carried this one before, too. Somebody said, it seems like I've done this podcast. 3 of these stories are old stories. I just ended up on them by answering these questions.